Hi, Jim.
Well, Fenton.
Jim, in our last episode from podcast El Expert, we started talking about the relationship between age and sleep. It's obvious that the older that we get, the less hours of sleep that we have. And I know that sleep, you mentioned that also, that sleep is very important in the structure of health or in what you call health essentials. Tell us first, why is sleep considered so important in the structure, and how can we manage that as we grow older?
Uh, Interesting question, but let's step one step back.
Yeah.
We're talking about health essentials. Let's define what we're talking about because there's a lot of interplay here
Mm-hmm.
uh, when we talk essentials. So there's a broad category, just to refresh everyone's memory, right? We're talking about sleep management, stress management, daily activity, which we touched on in the last
Right.
podcast, also mental health, social groups, right? So it's all this collection of other things that are in our lives that
Mm.
impact our health,
Right.
and they're all intertwined. And that applies with sleep too.
Mm.
So sleep is really important. And as we age, we do tend to get less and require less sleep. Part of it is hormonal. It's just part of our aging process. Men dip in their testosterone. The hormonal changes women have postmenopausal.
Mm.
It does cause sleep disruptions and requiring less sleep. Also, just the aging process, and I can attest to this. As you get older, sleeping is less comfortable. I have arthritis in my shoulders. I've had injuries to my other shoulder.
Connected to your physical
Right, so you can't
status.
sleep through the
Mm.
night. Literally, my arm goes numb, and I have to roll over on the other shoulder. So now we're experiencing more sleep disruption. When the children, we say they have this sleep of the dead, right? They never wake up.
Yeah.
They're perfectly comfortable all
Yeah.
night going to sleep. But as you age, men's prostates get enlarged. Women go through menopause. Suddenly, we have to urinate more in the evening, and now we're up to 3 times a night urinating or
Mm-hmm.
more for some folks, right? So there's all sorts of physiological factors
Changes.
that cause us to have less sleep. But that doesn't mean sleep is less important for the elderly or for anybody else.
Mm.
It's critical because it impacts so many factors in our life. So sleep deprivation or just not enough sleep on a
Mm-hmm.
consistent basis. We need about 7 to 9 hours.
For men and women.
Men, and again, this is, remember we talked about BMI and all this. This is
Yeah,
estimates on
because we,
a
we know
whole
that women probably
population.
need an extra hour. Can we cheat a little bit?
No, not really. Yeah, anybody can cheat. But the
Yeah.
thing is, there's a lot of individual variation.
Mm.
So there is some people that function perfectly well on less sleep,
Mm.
and there are some that require far more sleep.
Right.
Now, this also, just like everything else we've talked about, how big you are, how old you are, where you are in your age, how active you are,
Mm-hmm.
will impact the amount of sleep, right? Because
Right.
sleep is recovery for the body.
Sleep is recovery
For
for
the
the
body.
body. It's not just rest.
Correct. So the healing process
Mm.
is optimized during our sleeping time. This is why when we do physical activity, the idea is like we just talked about physical activity.
Right.
And I think the particularly when it comes to like weightlifting, right? The idea is you think you're lifting these weights and I'm getting big and strong because
Mm.
I'm lifting weights. No,
What do you mean?
there's no impact on how, well, not no impact. It is the cause that eventually makes you stronger. What you're doing is you're tearing up the muscles and making little fibers. It's the healing process that makes you stronger
And where does
and
that
bigger
happen?
when you sleep,
Okay, we need to repeat that. This
right?
is like very significant.
Right?
So it's the healing process after
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
workout. That's where we build strength.
So
Strength.
our body then takes it and goes back. It's sort of like the nightmare, like the night staff cleaning an office building.
Yeah.
When you're sleeping, your staff that's in your body is healing your body,
Okay.
getting you ready for the next day. It is a time of rest,
Mm.
and rest and recovery. And
Recovery.
recovery is essential. I mean, most professional athletes, we're talking about how much sleep you get,
Yeah.
particularly in strength based things. It's not unusual for them to sleep 10 to 12 hours a day
Like babies.
because they need to recover
Right.
from the damage that their body takes from the pursuits that they're
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's critical. Now, chronic sleep, even in regular people,
Right.
anxiety disorders,
Mm.
depression, stress disorders, causes tied to obesity, diabetes. The ties that getting insufficient sleep does to our bodies is, it's just tremendous. So
Mm.
it's really critical that we get to sleep. The problem is in today's society, having good sleep hygiene
It's
is
it's
really
it's
challenging.
very challenging. I mean, we're bombarded literally with electronics left, right, and
Yeah.
center. We're especially the young. They're on their mobile phones, binge watching, all these series on their laptops. So we have blue light everywhere.
Yeah.
So our brains are constantly stimulated. How can we maintain what you call sleep hygiene?
Yeah. So sleep hygiene, just in case anyone is not aware of what
Mm,
it is a series of steps
right.
or habits that you can get into that enable your sleep to be of higher quality.
Mm.
Now, some of them are relatively easy to do if we are aware of
Let's
them,
start with the easy
right? So,
ones.
easy ones. One is you want to be sleeping in a dark room. It's pretty simple, right?
Dark room.
Dark room. If you can't, for whatever reason, then
Mm,
put on a sleep mask so that it is dark. So even if your eyes flicker open or go into high REM sleep, when
yeah.
your eyes are going
Mm-hmm.
like this, light is not hitting them because then it can knock you out of deep sleep and rhythmic sleep. We want to be in a dark environment, even if we have to create it with
So
a
dark environment one.
cool environment.
Cool environment. What does
Keep
that mean?
You want the room to be comfortable. Now that can vary to people, but you do not want it warm. A warm room will interrupt sleep every time.
It's gonna wake us up.
Yeah. So and you may fall asleep when it's warm, but you'll wake up again more frequently.
Right.
So all studies consistently show that a cooler room,
Mm.
not just the room, if you can. Now we're talking about budgets and to
It
optimize
depends,
sleep,
right? Yeah.
they now actually have uh, bed covers that are temperature controlled. So what you're laying on
Wow, that's
stays
new.
cool. Yeah, and there's even real advanced ones, if money's not an object,
What?
that will monitor the temperature that you're at and keep it at a consistent
Oh,
cool
oh my
temperature.
God. Okay.
Right. So, I mean, you can go to some extremes on this, but
Yeah.
this is maybe one of them. But actually, the cool room is critical.
Mm,
Comfortable bed, right?
mm,
Obviously, you don't want to be sleeping somewhere uncomfortable.
okay.
Um, Now, then there's sound.
Yeah.
So,
Sound
sound,
is a bit controversial.
right? Well, let's actually do blue light. We'll go back to sound.
Mm.
So, blue light's simple, but it's hard.
Blue
It's simple
light. Yeah.
because we know it's bad.
Mm.
And really, half hour to an hour before we go to bed, we should eliminate all blue light from our environment, ideally. Many people find that very hard. Some people find it easy, this ties to sound, to sleep with the TV on.
Right.
They're not sleeping because of the images, you're asleep. The reason you find that comforting is the sound. And this ties to it. Some people sleep well in a quiet environment.
Mm.
I'm not one of those. A lot of people aren't.
Mm.
I get the hamster brain, which what I mean by
The
hamster,
what? The hamster
the
brain.
hamster brain,
Okay,
which
I
means
like
when it's
that.
really quiet,
Mm-hmm.
you're like a little hamster. Your brain's like a little hamster on a wheel, running, worrying about everything that happened this today and what's going to happen tomorrow. And
Okay.
oh, if this happens, oh, that happens, and suddenly your brain is on fire.
It's racing
It's
thoughts.
just racing, right? And it's jumping from here to here, and this word to that word. And guess what? You're not sleeping. Now, all of us, particularly in times of high stress, because stress can affect sleep,
Absolutely.
will be impacted by this.
Hmm.
But if you have a sleep routine, right? And if you're the person that gets hamster brain like me, I then need a sound. I find that some sounds, and it varies from person to person. Some people, like classical music or chatting in the background.
Is this
Or-
like white noise?
Yes, it's
That's
white
what they
noise.
call white
Yeah.
noise. Yeah.
Well, for me, what works is thunderstorms and rain with what and oceans.
Thunderstorms.
Yeah, I've always, since I was a kid, if it was raining or thundering out, I found it very comforting and caused me to sleep. And the reason this works is it's a very narrow window that you're looking for. You don't, if you get hamster brain, you don't want to quiet because
Right.
then your brain will run off.
Right.
But it can't be something that's so interesting
Mm-hmm.
that it captures your attention.
It cannot be.
Yeah, because then you're going to start, if it's a story, you're going to start
You're thinking
right,
about
now you're
it.
not sleeping. Now you're listening to a story.
Okay.
It's got to be something that is distracting and pleasant that lets you drift off.
Not interesting.
Not interesting.
think of.
And then the other advantage tends to be if you wake up, but you're waking up in this comforting environment,
Mm.
you can then go back to sleep easily, right? Rather than you wake up and hamster brain starts running again, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
you woke up and now you're like, oh my goodness, I woke up and I have an appointment at 8 a.m. and suddenly you're awake
Yeah.
again, right? So that's part of it, the quiet noise. So and that has to do with stress management. I know that gets into another topic we've been
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, that's right. I mean,
Yeah,
speaking of a noise, you like to listen to thunderstorms.
yes,
Yeah, I mean, there's this hype. I'm sure you've heard of it. You must have seen it too, which is called in the West and recently also in the region, Arab region, which is called ASMR. You
yeah,
have all these videos of these, men and women more so, on their microphones, and then making all these sounds.
right,
I tried them one time.
mm,
Wanted to explore what that means,
right,
what that means to my brain, to my sleep,
hmm,
hygiene. And it's incredible because it turned out to be kind of addictive. You're looking at the next sound and the next sound.
hmm,
So how accurate is this technique? Because some people, or I'm not gonna say doctors necessarily know, but experts sometimes talk about
yep.
the importance of ASMR to calming the brain, calming the hamster brain.
Well, you know,
Is it accurate?
yeah. I mean, well, true ASMR also involves touch, smell, a whole bunch of other
Right. I'm
aspects
talking
to it.
about the
But we're talking the
videos.
video
The
version.
videos.
They've
Yeah.
actually been doing starting to do some studies on this. There's not a lot of
Mm,
research out there right now on this.
okay.
It has shown basically mixed and not enough results.
Mm,
So some people find it does work for them,
mm,
right? In the context you have to look at, so basically what you're looking for is something that would lower your heart rate,
mm,
right? Be calming. Some people find it that way, but actually a fairly significant part, the opposite reaction happens,
mm.
right? They get disparate thoughts and elevated heart rates. So my suggestion on it is, if it works for you, fine, but there's better, more proven methods of relaxation that really we should be leaning into.
Right.
And this is, I find that these videos, if they work for you, they actually work best to help being the white noise that helps us sleep.
Right.
Like
But not
there's a
look at the
utility.
video because this is
Yeah,
blue light again. I mean, what are
exactly.
we doing?
Exactly.
Okay.
But so there's many more proven. And actually, the very first stressor is get things that cause you stressed out of your life,
Right.
right?
Right.
If you, for me, it was, watching TV, watching news TV would get me upset. And you know what? I can't have any, why I can just read the headlines and so I don't watch the news
Yeah.
now.
We
Particularly now, new news is always on the negative side.
yeah.
So why have
No
that
news
stressor in
is
my life?
positive,
Or you could have
unfortunately.
sort of that childhood
Mm,
friend that you really don't get along with, but you feel you have to. But every time you're around them, you get upset. And, time to have a self-evaluation. Is that worth the stress in your life that it's causing?
yeah.
And we try to eliminate all these stressors that some we have to have,
Right.
right? You're married. That's going to be a stressor sometimes. You have
Yeah.
children. That's
Oh, yeah.
definitively going to be a stressor.
Yeah. Endless
We're at work.
responsibilities.
We
Yeah.
have to make a living. Your boss could be a stressor. There's nothing
Mm,
you can do about it.
right.
So now what we're talking about,
How to
first we are
manage that.
actively first we're actively eliminating stressors. Now how
Right.
do we manage the stressors that we have,
Yeah.
right?
This is
And
this
there
is
is techniques for that, right?
mhm, mhm.
So one is just, it's age old, it's thousands of years old, which is meditation, right? Or positive guided imagery, right? So
Just breathing too, also
well, they're
breathing.
all intertwined,
Mm.
but there's actually separate ones too. So
Ah,
there's literally meditation,
mm,
right? Which is traditional like yogi meditation. There's a whole, every, particularly in the East,
mm.
like Japan has a different version than China. They're all, if they work for you, they work.
Right. And
Um,
here also in the region we have praying,
right. Well,
prayers.
praying
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
form
yeah,
of meditation because,
yeah.
right, because
Mm.
basically you're now removing from the day to day into
And
a
different
different realm,
status.
right? Whether it's focusing on a word or whatever, but a lot of that is just, they've shown that it brings down your heart rate. If you do the brain waves, they calm
Mm.
down, right? Brain activity calms down, which is awesome. The other thing you can do that with physical exercise,
Yeah.
right? And so my meditation
Your
is when I go,
meditation
you've seen
is
me work out.
yeah.
When I go to the gym, I don't talk to anyone else. I have my headphones on, listening to my music, and that's all I think about for
Mm.
an hour and a half is what I'm doing. I
Right.
pace around and do this, and literally no other thoughts enter my brain. I turn my phone ringer off. I don't answer phones. I don't answer texts. I just have the sound on that's blocking out any other environment, and I work out. That's my safe space, right?
Right, right.
So that's one. Find something that works for
It's like
you.
a grounding activity, you know.
Right.
I only started recently looking at it this way.
Yeah.
It's not just, you know, it is definitely strengthening my body and being able to age gracefully
Right.
and all that, and, you know, defeat the weaknesses and, you know, the physical weaknesses that I have. But also, I'm looking at it, I'm modeling on the same, which is like it's a grounding activity. You know, I don't want to answer that message in that 1 hour. I just want to focus on this status, which is more like meditation.
Right.
You're
And then
right.
runner's highs, which
Mm,
there's some physiological parts to that. But the other part of it is you're just all other parts of your life are gone. It is putting
right,
one step in front of the other, right?
right.
Swimming, it happens even easier because you're in the water and you can't hear anything,
It's
right?
beautiful.
So, and it happens. You swim enough laps, it just becomes a routine that your body's in, right? So, and plus you're exerting energy. So, we can get a lot of stress,
Ah,
negative stress,
yeah, negative stress.
from having this pent up energy that we can't release,
Hmm.
right? And so that basically the body in dealing with it creates mental stress in order to try to dissipate it, right? So it's just not good. But when we're physically active, we don't have that. Our body is tired. It's more relaxed, tired in a good way, right? So because working out is stress, but it's good stress.
It's
We're
good
stressing our
stress.
muscles. We're
That's
tearing or
nice.
damaging our muscles.
Mm,
Things are happening that physiologically are a stress,
right.
but it's a healthy stress,
Yeah, I read somewhere that
right?
we do need, as human beings, we do need healthy stress in our lives to keep us going, to be
Right.
more productive in a good way, in a
Well,
positive way.
well, where there's stress and anxiety, and then there's just positives, be self-awareness.
Self-awareness,
Self-awareness is
mindfulness
excellent,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Right, mindful, that's fine.
Mm,
They become problematic, and usually what happens, stress becomes bad when it enters into anxiety.
mm,
So we're worried about, like this podcast, say someone had stage fright, and
yeah.
this worried them a lot. They start getting anxious about it, and that anxious becomes stress. And if they had to do this every day, suddenly they're under stress every
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
right? So that's the kind of stuff we want to try to eliminate.
Yeah.
And then the last one is breathing.
Breathing.
Breathing exercises are easy, take a minute to do,
Yeah, they
and they've
don't
shown,
cost anything.
no, and it's deeper. There's specific methodologies of breathing.
Right.
There's the four square method, which is four inhalation. You hold inhalation
Mm-hmm.
for 4 seconds.
4 seconds.
You exhale for 4 seconds.
Okay.
You inhale for 4 seconds, exhale, hold, right? So it's 4, 4, 4.
Okay.
You inhale, hold it
For
four
how long?
seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds,
Okay.
hold that for 4 seconds, inhale for 4 seconds.
Okay.
And you just do that for,
It calms the brain.
yeah.
It
And then
calms the brain.
there's another one called what is it, 7, 8, 9, where you take 7 seconds to inhale. So there's all these different, there's box
Breathing
methods.
techniques. Yeah.
Yeah. So just there's find one, go online. I mean, this is one literally. You can go online and look up
Yeah.
and get the technique because it's not complicated.
Mm.
The hard part is just calming your mind and getting yourself to do it.
Yeah, to
Right.
sleep, you know, productively.
But
Yeah.
these have been proven to be so much more effective than something like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Jim, for all this information and also very, very helpful. In our next episode, we'll be talking about productive aging. Ready for that?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Have a good day.